Respect it, I mean, we network across the globe, cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone. I am Paul Amadeus Lane, and I am so happy to have you in this segment of the Tech Zone. I talked about it before I went to break. I am a big Trekkie, and I've been waiting for years for a Star Trek game to come to consoles that could do the franchise justice. When I went to E3 earlier this year, and I talked about it on the show after I came back, I had an opportunity to play the beta version of Star Trek Online for Xbox One. And I fell not in love with it, but in love with it. Yes, I did. And I couldn't wait until it came out. Got a beta code in December from the developers, not December, but in September. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. And it was phenomenal. I played it for 12 hours, and I'm so happy that this game exists. Check out a little bit of the game right here. Joining me now is one of the coolest guys on the planet, Star Trek Online executive producer, Stephen Ricossa joining me. Steve, how you doing, my friend?
Good, Paul. How's it going?
It is going fantastic, and I know you and I met back in June. Time flies, my friend, and I'm loving the game. And when it comes to putting this together on console, because we know it was on PC at first, what was kind of like the journey of getting to where it is today to be on PS4 and also Xbox One?
Yeah, it was an effort. We had to look to see what it was going to take to make it work technically, to get our engine working on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 hardware, but also what we wanted to bring to the game extra. What do we want to bring to the game to really bring it up to modern console gaming standards? And so that's where we decided to completely update the lighting engine to make it look a lot better, to completely overhaul all of our UI, literally threw all of our UI away and rebuilt it from scratch, purpose-built for console, and then coming up with a new control scheme in order to make it work more seamlessly with a controller.
Awesome. And I know, like a Star Trek fan as myself, I've been waiting for this for years, my friend. So thank you so much for
Happy to help.
For you and the team to definitely do it. Now, how did you find the perfect fit of incorporating some of the original Star Trek characters? I know we have a cameo from Spock in there, and with the newer characters and the new villains and everything like that. How did you guys come up with a perfect fit?
So that goes all the way back to before we launched, way back, 7-8 years ago, when we were deciding what time frame we wanted the game to take place in. And we felt that 30 years after Nemesis kind of gave us a spot where we could come up with our own characters, tell our own stories, but bring back everyone's favorites for little bits and pieces. So we kind of set the stage for how we wanted to do it all the way back then. And we kind of continue that formula now where we can bring in a guest star and we can make it work if we're in the past, if we're in the future, if we're in our current, 24/9, 24/10 timeline. We can just make it work because you're the captain, you're the star of your show. So we bring those other captains in or whatever rank they are to enhance that experience for you.
And that is so true when you said you're the star of your show. Because when I first started playing, because I was able to play the beta version, I must have played it for about 12 hours and then shut off for the official launch. And I was like, oh no, I hope I stay where I left off at. And I did. So everything was all good. But I love the gameplay of it. It's like you're really immersed as a Starfleet cadet and you go through your career, or if you want to play a Klingon or an alien, you can do that. And I think this is so amazing that you guys did this.
Yeah. It was a lot of work and a lot of effort, and the game grew so much from the time it launched on console or on PC in 2010 up through now. So much got added that all of those updates kind of making their way to console all at once is kind of a huge boon for those Xbox and PlayStation players. And
speaking of the updates now, what are some of the recent updates? Because we know it launched, I believe, in September, correct, for the consoles?
Yep, September 6th.
And what were some of the updates that have followed since then?
So we've had some general cleanup updates. We've been paying attention to the boards and some feedback on the camera and the controls. So we've made some tweaks based on what feedback players gave us. And then most recently we had an update we called Fleets. And so that brought fleet progression into the game. So previously you could create a fleet, but you really couldn't do much. Now you can create your own starbase or Dilithium mine, Romulan embassy, and they start kind of small and broken. And you can level them up and have a new social space for you and your fleet mates, as well as access to a wide variety of really awesome gear. And in some cases, visual upgrades, costumes and things. We added the duty officer system, which lets you kind of control your everyday bridge crew, your non-officer crew, and send them on little missions and assignments, and then they can come back and bring you rewards. Similar system, if you have multiple ships, every time you get a ship, you get a ship card. And you could engage in the Admiralty system where you send those ships on missions, and they come back with pretty sizable rewards because you're sending a ship as opposed to a couple of guys on a away team. So we definitely got some really cool updates in there, as well as I think we added a couple of reputations, which turned on a few of the instanced queue events, which were very cool. And we've got regular updates planned fairly soon to get the game completely caught up to where the PC is at. And then maintain a good cadence where something goes live on PC and then a very short while later it goes live on consoles.
Awesome. And Steve, I will tell you this, when it comes to the duty officer, the Jim Hadar duty officer kicks major behind out there. I'm telling you, when I'm with him on an away mission, he watches my back. It is so cool. And I never would have thought that he would ever be my duty officer, but the dude is bad. That's all I got to say.
It's great. You play that episode arc and you get that duty or that bridge officer out of it and the duty officers out of it. There's so much story there in the game, and there's so much that you kind of take with you that, you've been playing for a couple of years and you look at your bridge crew and you look at the gear that you have, and it really feels like you've been on a pretty huge adventure where you collected all of this stuff.
Tell me about it now. Do you have a personal favorite mission? If so, which one's your favorite?
It's a toss-up between two. I'm a huge Deep Space Nine fan, and I'm a big fan of Boldly They Rode, which is the final episode of the DS9 arc that we did, where the Jem'Hadar come back out of the wormhole and take over Deep Space Nine. So it's the one where you're in a spacesuit walking on the exterior of Deep Space Nine, and then you break in, and then you do some infiltration inside Deep Space Nine, and you beam back out and have a gigantic space fight, and then the brand new Enterprise at the time, the big Enterprise F, shows up. And
yes.
Super cool. My other favorite is the finale to the Iconian arc, Midnight, which we built towards the Iconian War for 5 years. If you're playing on console for the first time, you're hearing about Iconians, and it comes to a satisfying conclusion pretty quickly. But it took us 5 years to get to that Iconian War. That was a big 10-episode arc, and I really think it just wrapped up from the story to the gameplay to the art. Everything about that mission just came together, and I think those two are definitely my tops.
And I believe in the one, Yesterday's War. Is that the one where you get to fly Picard's Enterprise in that one? Is that the one where you run into Taja Yar? And
Oh yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, man, I'm sitting in Picard's chair. I'm manning the Enterprise. It was just so bananas, man. It was awesome.
It's great. We always try to have little, fan moments and those little touches, be it a villain or some little thing that people will recognize. We have an Alachi episode where we kind of decided to build out that group from Next Generation, that group from Schisms that were cutting the crew apart and then putting them back together. And there's a moment where Worf, finds a chair, the table that they were doing all those experiments on.
Oh, yes.
Had Mike Dornan. And that was such a great moment for fans because they saw the chair like, oh my God, that's the chair from that episode. That's where they were doing all those horrible experiments. So we try and find those moments whenever we can where we tell our stories, but we tie them into, 50 years of fantastic Trek lore.
Yes, and it is. And I'm a huge DS9 fan like yourself. And when I played that mission, I was able to go to Bajor, talk to the prophets, and I was like, wow, this is just, and I remember when I met you at E3, I was like, man, this is just like, I was like, you and I both are rattling off like Star Trek jargon and everything and talking about the game. And I, like I said, I think this is amazing. When I first got it, I haven't stopped playing it ever since. And when it comes to your career, when you started at Cryptic, did you ever imagine that you would be the EP of one of the most successful franchises in entertainment history, the Star Trek franchise and this game?
I mean, you always hope for something crazy like that. But when I came in, I applied to Cryptic because of Star Trek. And I got it in QA. And so I started in QA, and then I spent about 6 months there. I had some other QA jobs before that. Started about 6 months there before I became a producer. And then I was just kind of working my way up the production track until I had this opportunity almost 2 years ago. And yeah, I never imagined I would kind of be at the helm of something like that where I can tell these stories in this environment that I've enjoyed ever since I was a kid. So, yeah, it's kind of like a dream come true.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I would love to switch places with you and do this because it's awesome. And when it comes to, the hardcore trekkers out there, Trekkies out there, why is this the game they really need to get? Because, I'm trying to tell all my friends, they know it's not like the ones we've seen in the past. This one is it. So let's get them out there and get them downloading this game, my friend.
Because we are like you. We are the Trekkies. We are the Trekkers. This game is built by guys like you, for guys like you. We've got awesome space combat, space gameplay, over 450 different ships to fly, really cool ground combat, amazing stories, regular story updates. We're telling serialized stories. We've got a story that's been running for 3 years continuously, just nonstop. One story leading into the next. This great narrative, amazing actors. I mean, where else can you go and have an adventure with Harry Kim and Seven of Nine and Worf and everybody, over 15 different actors that have been in the game. Chekhov from the most recent expansion. So really, really exciting. So if you want to get your Trek on the regular, this is the place to come.
And what blew me away too was Leonard Nimoy. We just lost him not too long ago.
Yep.
And when I heard him in the game, I was like, wow, it was really like surreal. And I will tell you this. 7 of 9, you guys got the curves down perfectly. That's all I have to say. She looks like she did in Voyager, my man. You guys got
our team likes to make sure everything's as show accurate as possible.
Absolutely. And before we let you go, Steve, anything else you'd like to articulate out there to the audience about the game, about things we can look forward to, and just some of the cool things you guys are doing over there at Cryptic?
I mean, the game's still going strong. It's growing. It's doing great on consoles. We've got tons of players on there to play content with. It's great to jump in and start. We've got some great tutorial experience for people to get in there and try everything out. And we've got some pretty big things planned for the next year and a half. We've got a pretty detailed strategy and great updates. Our 7th anniversary is coming up in January, February. We'll be having a pretty big celebration there. And our winter event is going on now. It has some great rewards in there, some super fun gameplay. So always something fun to do in the game. So if you're a Trek fan, you got to be playing this or you're just missing out.
I'm looking forward to it. And before my last and final question, it's not a curveball or anything, but will we see some of the newer crew from the new Enterprise, from the new movies, any cameos from them, the younger selves of Captain Kirk and everything? We got looking forward to something like that?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I just had a call with CBS today. We talk about that kind of thing all the time. So anything is possible for the game. If you had told me, a few years back that we would have almost the entire Voyager bridge crew in the game, I wouldn't have believed you. So you never know what we're going to be able to get in there.
Awesome, Steve. It's been awesome talking to you, my friend. Look forward to catching up with you later on next year in 2017. Can't wait for the new things in the game, and we wish you much success over there. And keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be on the show. It's great to talk with you again.
A huge shout out to my man Steve Ricossa, EP of Star Trek Online, joining me on the Tech Zone. I told you guys it was going to be awesome. It was going to be bananas. It was going to be stupendous, and all the superlatives out there. Make sure you download the game. Support Steve and them and the great folks at Cryptic and Perfect World. Great game. You will not be disappointed. We'll be right back here on Tech Zone. We're going to talk about apps. We're going to talk about social media, you name it, everything tech here on the Tech Zone. We'll be back, like Chuck Woolery says, in 2 and 2.